Hello everyone. This presentation is for Moral and Political Philosophy, assignment number 3. We're going to be tackling the concept of the individual versus authority. I would like for the audience to consider a question when thinking about the theme. Should government with the approval of the majority have the right to ban acts such as gambling, prostitution, drug use, or wearing a helmet while motorcycling? When thinking about this question, I want you to think about the effects that these acts would have on the individual and the community, but I also want you to think about what the purpose of government is and how it should serve society. Now, why is this question even important to political philosophy? Well, the question of whether or not to permit immoral or unsafe acts, it tackles several conflicts that the citizens of the state must consider. These include the individual freedom of choice versus social responsibility, government non-intervention versus intervention, and the needs of the individual versus the needs of the community. And there are a couple of theories that they attempt to answer this question that we're going to be going into. Now we'll start off with the theories espoused by John Stuart Mill, who clearly leaned to one side when it came to the battle between the individual and authority. Mill advocated for limited powers of government and stated that there are two principles which government should enact laws by. The first principle was the liberty principle, which states that citizens are guaranteed basic freedoms that cannot be infringed by government. These included freedom of speech and freedom of opinion. The second principle was the harm principle, which states that freedom can only be limited if the act causes harm to another. Mill rejected limitations on freedom based on paternalism or moralism. This is the concept that government made decisions based on what was quote unquote best for the individual. Now, Mill did make exceptions for certain limitations if done in the public sphere. So if there were certain things that Mill did believe should be allowed by government if done in private, such as sex, for example, he did believe that these acts should not be done in public, and he believed that government had a right to ban these type of acts in public. Mill summarizes his beliefs in the following quote: "The only part of conduct of anyone for which he is amenable to society is that which concerns others. In the part which merely concerns himself, his independence is of right absolute." Now, on the other side of the coin, we have a competing theory called communitarianism. Communitarianism argues that the highest societal happiness can only be achieved by focusing on the community. They argue that individuals are social beings that are shaped by the community, and because of this, they have a social responsibility towards it. They prioritize the concerns of the community over personal fulfillment of the individual. They value traditions and customary morality, and they reject extreme individualism, which they contend actually leads to the isolation of that individual as opposed to happiness and more freedom for that individual. So how would these two competing theories answer the original question of whether or not government should ban certain immoral or unsafe acts? Mill would reject most government bans on acts such as drug use, gambling, and prostitution if it was done in private on the premise that it does not harm others. Mill would be open to banning certain acts if they were done in a public area. Unfortunately, in Mill's writing, he does not provide a clear reason for allowing exceptions based on offense, especially because he states that mere offense should not be justification to government intervention. On the other hand, communitarianism would be in support of these government bans. They believe that these acts would be a net benefit to society. They advocate communities to take a proactive position in regulating moral behavior, and they believe that they have the right to steer people towards the right decision. Communitarianism rejects freedom of choice in these cases to deter the risk of individual isolation. Now, after careful consideration of these two theories, what do I believe is best for social progress and, quite frankly, happiness? And to me, ultimately, there was a simple answer. And that, in fact, is going to be John Stuart Mill. For me, Mill provides an avenue where individuals are a better judge of what contributes to their happiness than what the government believes. I have found through historical evidence that government is often wrong when trying to legislate morality. We can look at examples of the execution of Socrates and Jesus, who clearly dissented against the status quo of government. And as we have seen, as decades and millenniums have gone by, these individuals are correcting their assessment of the fallacy of government. This limits the risk of oppression to the minority. Again, this comes back to the idea that there's many instances where the majority is in fact wrong about their beliefs on what should be moral. Ultimately, the liberty principle provides a better environment for societal change than communitarianism. And that's why I believe Mill has the best theory for societal progress.